The Predator franchise has seen many ups and downs throughout its history. The first film in the series, released in 1987 as a response to Alien, showed excellent box office results. But things went downhill from there. After Arnold Schwarzenegger refused to participate, the sequel's box office plummeted. At the time, it seemed that the Predator story had come to an end. However, the joke that the producers added to the film's ending prompted the studio to give the series another chance a few years later. The joke was the catalyst for the Alien vs. Predator crossover, helmed by Resident Evil director Paul Anderson. The film did not fail, but neither did it impress the audience or the critics. If they knew what their complaints would lead to, perhaps some of them wouldn't be so vocal. Anyway, the studio thought the main issue with Alien vs. Predator was its PG-13 rating. As a result, they decided to make the sequel R-rated, adding blood, gore, and profanity. However, Alien vs. Predator Requiem made Paul Anderson's film seem almost flawless in comparison. Requiem's ratings were so low that the studio immediately dropped all plans for a third film. Yet, despite curses from the audience, protests outside the Fox Studios building, and low ratings, the film still did not fail. Although most people believe that the film's profitability relied solely on the aliens in it, the studio decided to take a chance and finally make a sequel to the Schwarzenegger and Glover Predator movies. That's when Robert Rodriguez decided to join the project. He said that he was a huge fan of the previous films, and with his hand on his heart, promised to make an excellent adult action movie in a short time with minimal funds. Rodriguez, being a huge fan of the franchise, chose to produce the film rather than direct it. The director's position went to Nimrod Antal, which was a questionable decision given that he only had a few average horror films under his belt. Rodriguez's smart production choices did not help him save the film, but he did succeed in keeping the budget under $40 million and generating some profit for the studio, although not as much as anticipated. As a result, the studio refused to fund Rodriguez's ideas, which he had enough for 10 to 12 films, and parted ways with him. After that, the studio decided to focus on Alien. Perhaps if it weren't for Shane Black's Iron Man 3, the new The Predator would never have made it to the public eye, or would have been released a few years later as a typical reboot. Iron Man 3 grossed over $1 billion in theaters, making Shane Black a major influential director. Knowing that 20th Century Fox was slowly developing a Predator reboot, Black went to their management and offered them his services. It's no surprise that Black has shown interest in the franchise. He had a soft spot for Predator, because he co-starred with Arnold in the first film at the start of his career. The first thing Black did when he joined the project was to reject all the plot outlines and completely change the direction of the project. Instead of a reboot, Black announced a direct sequel, which would take place between the events of Predator 2 and Robert Rodriguez's Predators. To show their trust in the new director, the studio promised to give the film the largest budget in franchise history. Shane Black's original script was quite different from what we saw in theaters. Many parts of the script had to be changed due to the actors' refusals. For example, Black really wanted to see Benicio del Toro in the film. The actor didn't mind and met with the director to talk about the role. However, due to the lengthy pre-production of The Predator, he had to turn down the offer, opting instead for the sequel to Sicario. The main role went to Boyd Holbrook, best known for his roles in the TV series Narcos and the film Logan. Therefore, Black had to change the script to make the character younger. Of course, Holbrook was not the worst choice. But in terms of charisma, Benicio and he were like an elephant and a pug. Like a very big elephant and a very small pug. The film's ending suffered as well. The original script called for Arnold Schwarzenegger's character from the first film to appear. Shane Black personally approached Arnold about appearing in The Predator, but he declined after reading the script. He explained his refusal by saying that the role was too short. The filming process, which started in February 2017, was not without complications, all because of the film's supporting actor, Steve Wilder. As production neared its end, actress Olivia Munn informed the studio that Wilder had been charged in 2010 for enticing a 14-year-old girl via the internet. Fearing negative audience reactions, the studio decided to remove Wilder from the film. As Olivia Munn had many scenes with Wilder, her character was most affected by the decision. Director Shane Black, who was a good friend of Wilder's, initially tried to defend him, claiming that the case had long been closed and that Wilder did not know about the girl's age. In the end, Black gave in and took full responsibility for Wilder's involvement in the film. Olivia Munn, by the way, later frequently criticized the the Predator film crew for their hyper-masculine behavior. She said that working with them was a nightmare because of their constant dumb jokes and carelessness, and that's why her character in the film seems so stiff. But none of this is that important. When the film was presented to the studio and test audiences, its problems worsened. The negative feedback from the test audience prompted the studio to organize major reshoots to make the film more dynamic. Plus, they decided to completely reshoot the last third of the film. During that time, photos of the Predators on APCs were circulating online. The scene was supposed to appear in the last third of the movie. In addition, the film was supposed to feature good Predators helping Holbrook and the other characters fight against the genetically modified Predator. All this has been removed. Edward James Olmos, who played the military general, was also completely cut from the film. He had a significant role in the original ending, but since it was fully redone, there was no point in keeping his character anymore. Naturally, the film didn't gain anything from all this, and ended up turning into some kind of Frankenstein's monster with a ridiculous gift from the Predators in the final. All the reshoots increased the film's estimated budget from $80 million to $100 million. Fortunately, thanks to tax breaks, the studio managed to reduce it to $88 million. Sensing impending trouble, 20th Century Fox tried to remove adult content from the film. During reshoots, they asked the filmmakers to stick to a PG-13 rating. That is why there was so much CGI blood added during post-production. However, a PG-13 version was not possible, because of excessive swearing in the first half of the film. Without it, The Predator would seem like a compilation of random clips. Shane Black's The Predator, which debuted in US theaters on September 7, 2018, was a huge failure, grossing only $51 million. This is $1 million less than what Robert Rodriguez's Predators earned, considering its $40 million budget compared to Black's $88 million. Although Rodriguez's film had many flaws and was at times extreme, as are all of the director's works, it stayed true to the original, and was clearly inspired by the first two films. As for Black, he seems to have been inspired by Requiem. Adding to the list, The Predator managed to set an anti-record at the American box office. Despite being shown in 4,000 theaters, the film had the worst opening weekend in history, grossing only $24 million. This was $7 million less than the previous record set by The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise. Cruise's movie, released in 4,000 theaters, made $31 million in its opening weekend in 2017. Worldwide distribution slightly improved The Predator's situation, bringing in another $109 million and helping the film break even nominally. However, any plans for a sequel were quickly scrapped. After Disney acquired 20th Century Fox, there were many promises not to abandon the franchise. They also talked a lot about its complete reboot and release on streaming platforms as a series or a future film.